Hey guys, my name is Mr. Neck, otherwise known as Truth, and welcome to a short but hopefully easy to understand guide on how to be a good air support. Now, a disclaimer, I am not the best air support player, nor am I amongst the best air support players. I'm not even a good support player in general, shoot. But I have a good grasp on the concept of how to be a good support player, especially in the air style, as I've watched Ajax and all these other specialized air players such as like Natsu. Pretty sure he was air specialized. That's the only time, every time he played, that's the only thing I've ever seen him go. So to keep it short and simple, I'm basically showing you what to do, what not to do, what you should do, which is basically what to do as an air support player. And I'll also be showing a build order example which should correlate with the rest of the 4 air units. So it's a pretty lenient pathway in terms of upgrades. And since we're already on this screen, it'll be pretty easy to talk about unit composition. Now, since you are going air, you would want something that would complement that said air, such as the science vessel or battle cruiser, banshee, anything basically that can fly, since it's pretty much easier to micro since they're both at the same plane, because controlling both air and ground is sometimes a hassle and can sometimes be not as efficient as just using a full air army. I mean, you can use a DT as well. A DT would work just as fine since it is cloaked and it isn't really that hard to lose if you are microing it. And besides the hero and the elites that we've talked about, I would say the most important and the most necessary unit to have in any air RB composition is the Vulture and Mini Babe. And the reason being for that is because the Vulture has a pretty big movement speed aura, which can work both inside and outside the Medi, which some people may not know. And it covers a pretty sizable amount of the ground army, and since you're playing air and air clumps up, it covers basically the whole thing. So it is very essential, especially if you're playing with really slow air mercs such as a Void Ray, or Void Rays, plural. It is such a huge help, even if the Void Rays do have their speed buff that you do get in the mercenary compound. It's a lot better. It looks like Flux Veins on steroids. And the unit counters as well. It's pretty self-explanatory. All you have to do is look at the description of, you know, all the units that have maybe popped out on the field, like a let's say snipers. If they go snipers, you go scouts. If they go brutalists, you go Void Ray. You know, pretty easy to understand stuff. And this last thing, let's see. Which air elite is the easiest to control? And honestly, if I would have to say, I would say it's the Void Rays. And maybe a few people might be surprised, maybe not, but I say Void Rays because despite how slow they are, they're pretty tanky and they do quite a bit of damage, as well as not having like a ballistic type of damage dealing weapon. For example, when you go scouts and the scouts attack any air units, it has like this plasma orb that shoots, and it can be easily blocked by drones. And if the other enemy is really good and he just uses one unit to send out, the entire army will shoot just that one unit, and it's really rough. So you have to constantly keep target firing the large masses or a specific unit with those types of air units. So with this one, it's just a laser beam, and it's pretty straightforward and easy. You just A move, click any unit, bam, it's done, just like that. And if you can even make up for its slowness, like I said, use the Mini Babe and the Vulture. It compensates for the slowness. It's basically the best all-round air unit in my opinion. Oh, and I probably should have put this at the beginning or at the end of the video, but might as well do it now since it's already on my head. I just want to say apologies in advance as this is the only visual example that I have to show off for this guide, and I'm really sorry about that, because it would have been a much more effective way of explaining, I'm pretty sure. But it's what I'm working with, and I was pretty much pressed for time, and I know you guys don't want to hear about that, but I just wanted to get that out of the way, just so Like if I'm explaining all this stuff and I'm not showing what I'm saying on screen, it's like, oh my gosh, oh this, wait, what are you doing? Are you slacking off? And it's not really. Okay, it's not that. So I'm really just banking on the hope that you will understand what I'm saying rather than showing. Even though the showing may help a little bit, as it is one of the build orders, or well, a build order. So hopefully you can understand the words more than the visuals. And now since we're talking about build orders, pretty good at this, I'll just explain it right now. So from 1 to 10 minutes, so early game, you would probably want to get to at least 2 damage ups, so 2 mercenary damage ups, and at most +4, or if you're just really rich, you could go +6. But it's really risky going +4 damage ups before the 10-minute mark, just because you'll never know if you'll get enough feed in order for you to transition into that air mercenary that you are going to use. So that's why I said +2 as a safety precaution, or a safe route you could take instead of going the more greedy route. But honestly, I always go +4 regardless. That's very wrong with me, because something's very wrong with me when I do that. Because I take, let's see, about 3-4 minutes after, so at the 15-minute mark, that's when I start to transition, which is super late, and you don't want to do that because you'll get like 10 voids out by 16 minutes. Or 10 air units by 16 minutes, and it's really bad that way. And now that you got your +2, +4, +6 damage ups, and they better be mercenary damage ups, because if you have 6 marine or 6 hero damage ups and you're going mercenaries, that's no good. That's no bueno. That's like +3 mercenary damage ups if you go the different route. So make sure you're going the right route. And with that said, you would want to keep a considerable amount of mass before you do transition into the air mercenaries, just because if you're going broke and you transition and then you have no mass, you have nothing to trade with while you're waiting for that mass to mass up, and you wouldn't have enough money in order for you to finally fully upgrade those void rays, mutas, whatever air merc. And it's a total of 1300, I believe. So 300, so 300 times 3, so 900 minerals worth of upgrades, and then another 400 for the special ability of that particular mercenary. And you would want to make sure you're constantly trading before you, well, again, get that merc. And then when you do happen to get that mercenary, you get at least 250 supply worth of air units that are on the field, and you'll be fully maxed out on those units. So that's a pretty good it's pretty good. Yeah. And now that you got all your mercenary upgrades and your +6 damage ups, do not get mercenary spawn rates. I see people, for some reason, every time they get +5 or +6, they always go for spawn rate, which is worth 600 minerals that could have been spent on having +2 HP ups. Like, it's good that you want to have more units on the field, but it is even more important, a lot more important, to outscale your opponent and take more favorable fights. And since you are going support, you could argue that you might have to, since you're mostly kind of tanking in a way for your allies, so your ally could do more of the DPS and you tank most of the shots. But honestly, just don't lose your units, and then you'll do just fine. And then you might say quality is a quality all on its own, but no, not in this game. Quality is a much better quality than quantity, and trust me on that. So I would say get +7 HP ups and +6 damage ups after. So in total, you have a +11 or +12 damage ups, which is good either way. And if there are marines on the field, or if you're quite ahead, or if someone's using like an AoE unit like Marauder or Brutalist, I would consider getting a couple armor ups, maybe at best 4 or 5 armor ups. It is quite useful, very useful versus those units, because even though they have AoE, they don't do quite as much damage as some units like a Lancer. But any armor in general is very useful. Especially when you're going up against late game tech, which is going to be a lot of Marines. Armor is very good against Marines. Very, very good. And again, if you do happen to get to late game is where air usually starts to fall off because everyone's Rhines usually can outscale the air mercs. Since that's what Marines are for. It's called Marine Arena, right? I had no idea. But no. So usually before the 1 hour mark, or more precisely the 55-minute mark, you would want to transition into the Temple Zealots or Reavers, since they're a very tanky unit when you do happen to get the upgrades going. And obviously you would have Rhines upgraded by then, and if you want to know how to get Rhines upgraded or a specific unit or a specific pathway in order to optimally upgrade them, there should be another video. I'll probably link it, maybe not, who knows. But yeah, you would have it upgraded by you would have reasonable upgrades on the Marines by then. Pretty simple stuff, simple pathway to take, right? Compared to the other ones I've showed. Yeah, the whole point of this, of course, is a support build. So the entire idea is to make sure your ally is well fed, well kept, pretty warm, moist. I don't know about moist, but just to make sure your ally is ahead of everyone else. That's essentially the biggest part of being a support player in any style. Alright, so finally, let's do the what to do's and what not to do's. But we'll start out with the what not to do's because there's a ton of things that you're not supposed to do in this video. And as ironic as it is, well, I want to say ironic, I mean, it's a good teaching lesson. I'm showing you things of what not to do, right? I mean, I think that's good. But anyway, the things that you're not supposed to do is that if you're in this particular scenario where two teams have left prior mid-game, so maybe like 30-40 minutes before, and it doesn't matter if the last team that's in the game with you is cross-map or he's right next to you, you should never go air, because essentially, if you're going air, you're just throwing away the game. Because if the other team has two ground armies and you're obviously going air and you're supporting your ally who is going ground, they can easily get a large concave around you, maybe a 360 concave if they're actually, you know, good micro, have good micro. And they could probably stutter step into you because it's just one army, despite how ahead your teammate might be, maybe like say around 10-12 upgrades ahead. Having two armies full mass supply that can stutter step into the ground army is a lot more advantageous to them. And it's not ideal having to be an air unit that has to support that, even if you're tanking for them, because any full mass amount of ground army that can stutter step towards any full mass air units, despite how much ground support they have, you'll always lose as air unless you're superbly ahead, maybe like, I don't know, 10k, 20k bounty above, which is insane to think how much minerals you need to counteract that mechanic. And even if it looks like I'm doing well in this matchup despite everything I've said, still don't do it, because the only reason I'm actually ahead, or you know, our team is actually ahead, is because these guys don't exactly know what they're doing. And I'm not trying to diss them, I'm just saying that they should be able to win pretty easily if they probably went like an Odin or you know, something like this guy over here, the guy with the Mando. He's only going Mando. I haven't seen him transition into any mercenary when there's clearly barely any heroes or elites on the field. And the science vessel could just shield those ghosts if they do snipe, right? Like right here. Never mind, not right there. But you see what I mean. Another thing of what not to do is to clump up your air units, because if you clump up your air units, you're essentially just asking to die. And what I mean by that is that if anyone had a type of AoE hero or elite, such as a battle cruiser or a Tassadar, that whole ball of a 550 supply is gone. Poof. disappear, disintegrated. Like it's no micro at all if you just move your air units around. There's more to it than just clicking. Lack of better descriptions, just clicking. And for a less extreme scenario, this Mando right here, if you clump up a lot of your air units, he'll probably get like a dozen or so units that he sniped, when he could have, in all actuality, if you do micro it right, he'll get 1 or 2 mutas. And you can already see the difference from that. And I'm sure if you're a ladder player, you would even understand that even more so, of how important that is to split up your mutas. Because imagine having 30 mutas that you spent so long just to make go down to 4 Widowmine shots just because you didn't micro at all. And you could argue that you are single targeting a unit, like a special unit, and all your units will eventually naturally clump up. Which is okay, but if you pre-split it before then and then manually attack that unit, then it'll be so much more easier to split if they do happen to seeker you or anything of that sort. Or as long as you're pretty fast on the keyboard and pretty smooth, pretty clean, like you can clump up and then go back out spreaded like a marine spread. And I think that's fine as well. The last thing you shouldn't do as an air support is to attack an enemy army solo for a continuous amount of time. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you're the support player, and if the enemy is going ground, you don't want to obviously get started stepped and lose all your mass when you only took out about 150 of his mass and killed nothing and he got everything from you. I mean, unless you know the trade is worthwhile, or if you're chasing down a running army and you could just like you could start a step as well, not like a marine does or a marauder, but like just chase an army down, fly back out, attack them again, you know, that sort of thing. And now let's talk about the things that you should do, which is pretty short because it's pretty much spread out through the entirety of this guide. But the one thing I say that you should do, and that should help you win games, I guess, and help with your practice, is to move like one air elite outward towards your army if you're engaging an enemy, so that if you're fighting any ballistic type of units, such as a Goliath's anti-air, Wraith, Scout anti-air, like I said in the beginning, or somewhere in the beginning of the video, if you put that one unit out, all those units will target that one unit if they weren't already pre-firing the other units. And like right here, you could do something like this, where you could just Science Vessel, D-Matrix, one muta, and then move it out, and then all of them will target that, while the rest of your army does a huge amount of DPS without taking any sort of damage. And if you want to get crazy, you could Seeker Missile that Defense Matrix muta, but it's definitely not necessary. It'd probably be better to just Seeker Missile the army instead. But you know, if you want to get creative, have some fun. But other than that, I'd say that's pretty much what you should do, and I've kind of explained it all to you. And I'm not entirely sure if I missed anything, and if I did, please leave it in the comments below or PM me on Discord or any of that sort. And I'll try to help you as best as I can at explaining, because I know for a fact that I'm pretty bad at it when I do talk, but when I do type, I'm a lot better. I'll tell you that truthfully. And that should be it for the guide. And I know, I've said that this would have been a short and simple guide, and it was 20 minutes long. I know, I'm sorry I lied to you. But hey, compared to the rest of my other videos, this was a lot shorter. But I hope nonetheless that it helped you and helped you understand what it is to be an air support player, or just an air player in general. Doesn't have to be support, but usually air is pretty much a support unit. And obviously as well, I am human. I do make mistakes. If I haven't explained anything far enough or too deeply, or I maybe missaid something, don't even know if that's a word. If I did say something that is wrong and it's triggering you, please comment down below. and I'll see what I can do to meld my mind towards that, and if I have to explain things for you so that you can better understand what it is to be a air support player and anything related to that sort. So like, share, subscribe, do all that funky stuff and more if you want, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao. If you wanna be good at Arena, keep in mind that you'll have to deal with all those feeders. It'll be frustrating doing all those niggas. Did you know these 3 lines rhyme with Wiz Khalifa? I can't believe I'm making this rap when this beat might be copyrighted. Gotta fight it, but I can't, so I'll rant how this video is gonna get demonetized.